Good morning, traders. TJ Watkins here. It is, let's see, June 8th when I'm recording this. As you guys can see, I wanted to give you a view of actually where I'm at. I am in the Denver countryside traveling with my wife Jackie, and this is my view. We've got some animals out there, so kind of pleasant. We are out kind of in the mountains and the prairies, plains, and man, what a view. It's amazing out here. And so we're going to go kind of hang out today, go in town for a little bit, go see some of the animals. And for those of you who know some artwork, we're going to go see Meow Wolf. If that does not ring a bell to you, go look it up. It is an amazing place. They first started in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they have a couple new places in Vegas and whatever. And it's just an awesome place to go tour around if you guys want to go see some amazing, interesting, interactive art. For the rest of you, a lot of people I've asked or have asked me when I travel, what's my setup and all that kind of stuff. My computer is actually pretty basic. It could be more powerful, sure, but this gets the job done. So you just need a good laptop. And then for me, you can see that I've got two portable monitors on each side. I originally started with just one portable monitor, and that got me through. But since I run the class and teach things and everything, having three was really good. And so this is exactly what my setup looks like. And then you can see my drawing pad down below, and that's how I'm able to do all of this kind of stuff where I, draw lines and all those kind of things. And it's immensely helpful when teaching and showing and drawing on the charts and kind of doing the work that I do. So yeah, I've got this nice goat in the background. He's like rolling around in the dirt right now, so it's kind of it's a little serene while I'm talking to you guys today. So remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys enjoy videos like this. And remember, this is for educational purposes only. So let's dive into what things look like for today and this week. And we can talk about some, let's see, where's the other one? Some news. We got all sorts of news going on. And let's see. I think I actually deleted one of the pictures that I need. Let me get that pulled up real quick. And so, yeah, I wanted to run over our kind of week and what that looked like. And you can see here we're going to be talking about these topics. And of course, everybody's talking about Trump and Elon. I'm not really going to say too much about that. We know that it's a bit of a fight. The market kind of freaked out initially, but then got bought back up on Friday. So I think for the most part, that little skirmish between them, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. Yeah, there might be some issues, but I think that hopefully cooler heads will prevail. So again, I'm just not going to dive into it too much, but yeah, of course, everybody is talking about it. We do have a Besant and the team, and some of the other Trump teams coming out and meeting China to talk about trade deals June 9th. I forget where they're going to meet, but yeah, that could be a thing. Last time that we had the administration meet with China about trade, it was a big deal and it was really good and all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like right now we're kind of in the middle of it, and so I'm not really expecting too much craziness or excitedness to come out of it. In fact, I'm kind of thinking that the market's getting a little bit tired in through here, and I'd like to see some sort of pullback. I do think the market is extremely strong, so I'm really not looking for anything too terrible, but I am looking for some sort of maybe a little bit of a rug pull, maybe a liquidation break, maybe a few days of weakness to help kind of reset things. I think that would be amazing. And then we're going to be talking about breadth divergences. Basically, internally, we are not seeing as much participation out there, even though the market keeps going higher. Not as many names are going higher, and that's giving me a warning sign and a pause sign. Same thing with this inverse trampoline move. I'm starting to see a lot of inverse trampoline moves on the hourly charts, and that is a Moxie setup and Moxie thing that I talk about, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. That number one is really what's having me kind of concerned in through here in this section. So what I did is, given that and given how crazy the markets are and crawling up and stuff like that, I did finally decide to cash in the last of my FNGB at 115% gain on that. I would love to wait for another pullback or something to give us a better entry. I just thought, you know what, we've had a good ride with it, and I wanted to cash out with it. Same thing with SOXL. We put some options on it. I didn't know how long we were going to last with them, but 78% on those options, and there was only about 14% in SOXL. But hey, I'll take that, especially if the market's going to be kind of chopping around, going neutral or coming down a little bit. Now, of course, I did get caught up with the Tesla situation. I had some calls, we had some ETFs, we had a butterfly. So yeah, we got stopped out on that. Now, we actually got out, I want to say, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday when everything was starting to come down. We got stopped out Thursday morning, so we missed everything else about Tesla going to the downside. Now, sure, it would have been nice to have some puts. Didn't see this coming. In fact, I didn't hear about all the Trump Elon stuff until later in the day. About like everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then we finally started hearing the news. So hey, no big deal. Got stopped out on that, down a little bit. Robinhood, on the other hand, we cashed in. We had two positions. One from our original spot, which is 142% gain from our original entry, And then we had, for our second entry, we were up 20%. Now, the reason Robinhood was going up, and we'll talk about this when I get to the chart, but they were supposed to be added, or there was a lot of talk about them getting added to the S&P. The S&P didn't do anything. They didn't rebalance. They didn't do anything, nothing like that. So I wasn't too surprised. I told everybody, like, look, it's moving up based on this rumor. We don't know if it's going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, they're probably going to get sold into because, well, the reason for owning it is not there. And sure enough, Friday afternoon, if you look at the after hours, it's down a little bit. Not too bad, but we cashed in and took profits because I was like, hey, too much of a risk to go in fully loaded based on that kind of unknown news. And then RCAT, drone story, kind of know what's going on there. That's a great name for us. We're up 27%. Palantir, I did get kind of whipped around a little bit. As it turns out, it's back up. I think Palantir is actually going to end up being just fine, but I didn't really know what was going to happen, and I did see that Palantir was probably going to pull back, so I decided to get out minus 7% on that one. And Grab, we have a leap on Grab. Very happy about that. That's starting to move up 14%. And then Rocket Lab, just stock, we're up 22%. Again, I think there's kind of I think the idea is if Elon is going to be kind of getting separated from the government with his contracts about SpaceX, maybe Rocket Lab and ASTS and RDW and some of these other space stocks could actually benefit because maybe there's going to be an opening for some government cheese kind of a situation there. And MSTR, we got into MSTR, MSTU, got on some options, and actually we got out basically break even, like plus 2%. When I started seeing the market start to come down and get weak, and I thought, you know what, I think I'm seeing what I'm seeing. I think the market's going to get weak, and I'm going to get out of this stuff. So that's why we started cashing in quite a few things this week, and partly because the market was tired, partly because what we're seeing with the Trump Elon thing, I didn't know where that was going to go, and because of everything else that I'm going to about show you right now of why I think that the market's getting a little bit weak. So let's dive in this. I'll show you kind of some market stuff, and then we'll go through some individual tickers. Okay, so if we look at the SPX, you guys know that I've been a little bit concerned about how frothy this thing was, and I think it was the last week or so. We were basically short here, kind of hedging, and amazingly, on Monday, the market held and continued going up. Okay, so we got out of our hedges, we went long on a few things. As you can see from that thing, we actually made some pretty good money on all of that. And so we've moved up, but then I started saying, hey, again, I think we are running the risk of pulling back and all that. And we sure did. Here we are, pulling back right to the hourly 50. Then I keep telling the subscribers, like, careful what you wish for, because that is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to see price pull back to the hourly 50. Now, lo and behold, you can see it held the moving average. It held two trend lines, and it bounced back up here. So we're thinking, all right, man, are we going to keep going? Is this going to be great? Is this, are we just going to keep crawling up? And I've been communicating to the Moxie subscribers, like, I'm being very cautious in through here, because while the market is making new highs and climbing up and holding these moving averages, I'm noticing that the Moxie indicator here is persisting. It is staying below zero, and it's having me concerned. Usually we don't see things like this just hang out here for a long time, just grinding. So I'm going to be keeping some hedges in place, and I'm going to be very sensitive this week in case we kind of get some weakness. Now, I don't think it's going to be too crazy, but I do want to see if we can get price back down to at least the daily 21 at some point, or if we come back down to this previous double bottom, which would be around 5,800. So I'm kind of looking at 5,850, 5,800. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to get it. I do think the market is strong, and so I don't know if we just kind of get a little bit of weakness sideways, and then if it starts to go back up like that, or if maybe some sort of surprise comes out and we get a bigger plunk down before we get something like that. So I am really kind of being very cautious in through here. And as we kind of go through that, I want to show you guys a little bit more. We've had a lot of people come into the Moxie room, and just wanted you guys to be able to see some of the really great stuff, and especially those of you who trade futures. I don't trade futures, but I have told people, like, look, the Moxie indicator works pretty well for futures, and I actually had some new people in the room who trade futures, and so I just wanted you to see that they actually do trade the futures, and they're actually doing really, really well with them. So I'm happy to see that kind of stuff, along with all the zero DT stuff that I've been putting out, and some other people who are saying that the Moxie system is very elegant, methodical, and keeps you from jumping the gun. So we're really seeing some good stuff in here. And then other people who are new to the room, but they're finding that it's been really, really great strategy, and it's better than anything they've ever had before. So wanted you guys to kind of see the good news that's been coming out here from the Moxie room and all of that. All right, if we look at the IWM, amazingly, Friday, the IWM was actually leading. This is one of these things that I'm trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and to see that the small caps are actually kind of breaking out, making new highs here, impressive, very impressive. So that's why I didn't want to be getting out of all of my positions, but I am cautious. You know, we did see a nice pullback in through here, a nice kind of refresh, and now we're up here. So I do think that the market is, you know, we're good, we're strong, we're going to be going up, but I'm just wondering, kind of worried about this trapdoor that might kind of show up at some point. Yes, the Moxie indicator is firing here. That can change if we do see some weakness, and if it does change, well, then I'll probably be pointing out that price kept going higher, but the Moxie indicator was down quite a bit. So I don't see anything quite yet, but that could happen very quickly. You know, maybe if we don't get good news coming out of the whole Trump administration meeting with China thing on June 9th, you know, maybe that's going to be something. I'm not really sure, but I am starting to protect myself as far as this stuff goes. The Dow, same thing. We were seeing some pretty good strength in through here on Friday when the whole market kind of came back up. Yes, we have a Moxie price trigger to the upside, but I do kind of want to look at the overall thing. Here we're getting to a kind of a double top, if I can actually draw that straighter. You really see that the Moxie indicator is down quite a bit, and it's also been kind of staying under here for quite a bit. So it's not really very inspiring if you kind of look at the overall picture. And I do know we're coming back up. I mean, we've had a really good inverse head and shoulders, but we are also dealing with this previous price range. And I just think I just don't know if we're going to really blast up through this, or if we're actually going to spend more time in this area. You know, maybe we don't crunch, maybe we don't go down hard, but maybe we don't go up. And so I think we're going to spend some time around this area. We can also look at SMH. And if you look at the same thing, where is SMH? It is right here at a previous resistance area. You know, that's a lot of previous price congestion to get through. And not only that, if you look closely, this has been an extraordinary move. It really has. So you kind of have to pat it on the back and say, good job, you deserve a rest, you deserve a break. And that's kind of where I'm at. And if you look here, I'm starting to see this is an inverse trampling move. We have price up over the 50, but the Moxie indicator is still below 0. Now, maybe on Monday, if the price keeps pushing up, maybe this blips over to give us a green signal and then roll over. We're not really sure, but I don't like what I'm seeing here, and it's making me nervous. I'm also seeing on the daily chart that price is basically floating off of these moving averages, and I think that the market has just been push beyond its comfort zone, and that's why I've been just kind of getting myself out of these things so that I can get out on my own terms and not have to panic or act quickly or give back too much. So I'm being a little proactive on this stuff because I am seeing things that are alarming or concerning to me. Okay, if we look at breadth, I actually don't have my let me see if I can pause this for a second. Okay, got this pulled up since I'm on my laptop and not everything was ready to go. Here's what I want you guys to see. Notice how in this section we have the S&P, the SPX, moving up, making new highs. But tell me what the 20-day breadth is doing. The number of stocks over their 20-day SMA. Do you guys see the divergence? We have the market going up, but underneath the surface, fewer and fewer names are going up. In fact, they have been holding at about 60%, even though the market has been moving up. That is concerning to me. And it's telling me that not all names are participating in this last move to the upside. And that's why I'm saying I think that we should be feeling that this is probably the market just crawling, and maybe we take another little dip at some point. Again, I don't think it's going to be too bad, too disastrous. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do think we need a little bit of a refresh, and I would not be surprised to see when that happens, see breadth come down to anywhere 30 to 40%. So that's why I am starting to pull back on some of these things. All right, so that's kind of what breadth looks like. And then, let's see, I don't know if I have the put-call ratio up. Again, I'm on my laptop right now, so I don't have all that stuff. But put-call ratio, we know, is at 0.7. It's very low. And when everybody is basically longed up with calls, there's nobody left to go long. And we could use a little bit of a refresher, so that's what the put-call is telling me. And then if we look at the UVIX, and we come over here and look at the daily, the hourly, and the 15, even from a distance, look at this. You can see here we have the Moxie indicator above 0 while we have price below the 50. This is a regular trampling move. Usually this is a very bullish setup, just like the SPX has an inverse trampling move. So I'm seeing the same signal upside down on things that are opposite of each other, which is totally lining up. And you can see on the 15, we have price down, and the Moxie indicator has basically been staying up. You see that divergence here? So it has not kicked in yet. You can see that price has not engaged with the 15-minute 50 yet, and the Moxie indicator can't stay over the zero line. But this is putting a lot of pressure on this, and I just don't want to be caught surprised by one day when it does and then it finally moves like that. Because this thing looks like it's building. There definitely looks like there's something building, but it hasn't triggered yet. And so I want to be prepared for that. Okay? If you guys are kind of picking up the messages that I'm putting down, I hope you guys see what I'm doing there. Now, here's Tesla. As you can see, pretty wild move. I was expecting that if this market was going to still be strong, I was looking for a pullback into the daily 21. We got that, so we went long, and then I was expecting the market to continue moving up. But the market's not moving up, and Trump, Elon, all that kind of stuff. And what did this thing do? Well, we got a very steep move back down to the daily 50. In fact, I was telling the subscribers, like, hey, don't be surprised if maybe something around the daily 50 actually ends up being a buy zone. Now, I know that there's a lot of controversy with Tesla and Elon, all that stuff. We're going to have to let the dust settle. Maybe Tesla doesn't really come back to its former glory for quite some time. Who knows? Maybe people are like, oh my gosh, this is the best dip ever. And maybe Elon says, hey guys, I'm checking out. I'm just going to focus back on Tesla. Who knows? There's a lot of stuff out there that's happening, and you just have to be prepared and expect a lot of news. Okay, this is going to be a very news-oriented stock. So if you're going to be trading Tesla, just know what you're getting into. All right, it's not good, it's not bad. It's just it is what it is. Now, if we look at Palantir, this is another reason why I was getting a little bit, cold feet as far as stuff. I do think Palantir is going to go higher overall. I don't see anything wrong with it long term. But for the positions that I was in, I didn't really want to ride it out, especially when I saw that the market was getting a little bit weak. And I thought, you know what, I could probably do better than this. So I got out, and if I can find a better lower spot to get in, then I will get back in. My concern basically is that we just couldn't really hold this breakout, especially when we had this much gap between price and support. So that's what I see as a risk. And you can see here on the hourly chart, price kept trying to go up. Look at the Moxie indicator, it kept going lower. And in fact, here is that inverse trampoline move that I keep talking about on the hourly chart. You have price over the 50, you have the Moxie indicator below 0. That is an inverse trampoline move. We're seeing that with the SPX. We're seeing this with a lot of different things out there. And that is what has me concerned, is that I'm just seeing all these signals start to compound. And while they aren't terrible yet, they are starting to speak to me. So that's Palantir. Here's TEM. Now, I do really like TEM overall. I do think TEM is going to be a big name, a big mover at some point. And again, I am seeing another inverse trampoline move on the hourly chart. In fact, we saw it right back here before it had some bad news too. So we still have inverse trampoline moves. Now, I'm still bullish on this name. I'm still happy to be in this name, but I think that this name could actually continue to chop around a little bit until the market gets straightened up. That's why I'm saying I don't think this market's going to be too bad on the downside, but I don't think everything is quite ready to really scream back up. So I'm being very cautious, and if we can eventually get that back up over 0, then fantastic, but it doesn't look like it wants to do it quite right now. So then here's Hood. And I can come over here, we'll look at this real quick, and you can see in the overnight and the after hours, you can see that Hood, yeah, they did not get included into the S&P, so it's down. Where is it down to? Pretty much the hourly 50, not a big deal. As I said, when we were doing this, we're trading Robin, our original entry was back here. We took some profits here, we got back in here, and we took some profits right there. We have been doing very, very well with this thing, and basically in the overnight it's maybe here. And that's okay. If it comes back down a little bit further, totally fine. This is what I'm saying. I think that a lot of these things are getting a little bit overdone, a little frothy, and I think the market could use a refresh. And so something like Hood could use a refresh. So let's let it come back down, and then we can always get back into it. Now let's see. As far as Bitcoin, Bitcoin was getting a little bit, I was thinking again, if the market was going to be strong last week and this week and going forward, then we should be fine. We can trade MSTR. We can look at some stuff. We have been seeing some pretty active movement in the Bitcoin miners, but again, I still think we could use a little bit of further support. So I was originally looking for Bitcoin to hold the daily 21. It doesn't look like it wants to, and I think it might actually come down here before it wants to go higher. And if that's the case, then I don't really want to be around on these things, especially if I don't have the greatest entry. Yeah, of course, the Thinkorswim always is a little bit slow there. So then if we look over here, BITX, this is the leverage ETF of Bitcoin, and you can kind of see the same deal that I'm looking at. If the market were stronger, BITX, Bitcoin, would be holding the daily 21. Well, that's not happening. In fact, you can see here that price is still underneath the hourly 50, Moxie indicator below 0, and I think we could come down here. whether it does or whether it doesn't, maybe it sets up differently. I just don't want to be along for that ride because I can do better. I can wait until it does something that I'm happy to see. And then Mara, this is just another example. I want to show you guys some of the inverse trampoline moves that I am seeing on the hourly chart and why I'm concerned. You can see here, yes, price is over the 50, but look at the Moxie indicator, still below 0. So I don't know if that means we're going to get a huge move to the downside. Maybe it just kind of comes down here and does a double bottom, and then we're fixed. I don't know. But I don't see clear signals right now, and if I don't see clear signals, then I'm on the side of caution. All right, here is Reddit. And basically, Reddit is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Now, I'm not officially back in it yet. I know some of our traders are. This is my original entry. We did get stopped out right there. But look, here we're actually now profitable from my original entry. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys that even though I got stopped out, because you never know where it's going to go, I was saying I originally thought it was going to be in this range. Well, that's not the range that Reddit wanted. Reddit wanted this range, and that's fine. And so, I said that there were a couple opportunities to get back into Reddit and through here. If the market does kind of pull back or weaken or pause the way that I think it might be, then I think there will be plenty of opportunity to get into Reddit again at some point. But I'm very, very happy to see how Reddit has come back off the lows, basically done a large double bottom, and I'm happy to get back into this thing when I see some opportunities out there. But yeah, Reddit's looking fantastic. Now, if we look at FNGS, this is the other situation that is concerning me. This is the ETF of the FANG stocks, not even the leveraged ETF. And this is what's having me kind of be cautious about this, is that this has been an absolutely beast of a move. So remember, FANG stocks, the mega caps. These things bounced from the lows all the way up here from the tariff lows, a huge move. Now, I'm not going to necessarily put too much weight on the fact that this has made new highs because it's an ETF of all these FANG stocks, but it is still something to be aware of. This has been an absolutely monstrous move. And we originally got into FNGA, FNGB, back here, and then we added to it here, and then we took some off here, we added here, and then I think we took some off here, and then we took the rest of it here. So we've been trading this thing up the entire way. But what I do want you to see is, once again, there's an inverse trampoline move here on the hourly chart. The Moxie indicator is now below 0, even though price is up over the 50. And if you look closely on your own screens, you guys can see here that price is now floating. It's pulling away from all of its moving averages. And this has just been a heck of a move. And these things don't last forever. In fact, I think it's done a really good job lasting as long as it has. And I don't really want to keep just pressing this. So we took it off. I'm looking for any kind of pullback, something, because if you go look at the history of most tickers, you'll see that they really, yes, this thing has done a great job. And yes, there's have a couple pullbacks along the way, but none of this has actually tested the daily 21 in any meaningful way. And so I look at this, just look at the best. Look, 21, 21, 21 hasn't done that. And that's what's making me nervous, is it just kind of feel like, it's overdue for a more significant pullback. Which is it's healthy. We want that, okay? So don't think this is terrible, but it's I think it's overdue. Now here's Microsoft. It's going to be part of that FNGS, and then this is again a absolute beast of a move. It's making new all-time highs, but it seems a little bit frothy and a little bit overdone. And notice how it has not tested its daily 21 at all yet either. And then look at this. For a few days now, it has been persisting with an inverse trampoline move on the hourly chart. This has me concerned. It can't last forever. Now, maybe it's not going to get crunched, and maybe it's not going to go all the way back down here, but if it comes down to 450 or something, great. But I don't really want to be fully long when I'm expecting things to pull back like this, even when I could do better about buying the dip. So that is another thing that has me concerned. And then AVGO, a lot of people were talking about this one. Going into earnings, and I said, look, I think the earnings has been factored in. Apparently it did just fine on earnings, but they sold it into because, again, they got what they wanted. This was a buy the rumor, sell the news. They were expecting good earnings. They ran it up before earnings. They got the good earnings. They said, great, we got what we want. Now we can sell it. And I just said it's unlikely that this thing is going to go much higher because, again, like FNGS, like Microsoft, this thing is so high. How much further can it really go? It did an amazing job actually breaking out past its previous high, but look where it is. It's right back to it. And that's because it was getting a little bit too frothy in through here, and we were starting to see negative divergences here as well. And I just said, look, they're probably going to sell into it, okay? And that's the same thing we were seeing with SMH and NVIDIA and all these things. Look, NVIDIA, they popped it up and then they brought it back down on earnings. So I just think that the market has done an incredible job, but it's due for a rest. It's due for a break, and I just don't want to be fully longed up when something like that starts to happen. and it says, yeah, you're right, I do want it to kind of rest for a little bit. Okay, so let's let it do that. If it does, I don't know when it's going to happen. That's why we have some hedges on just in case, and we just have to be patient for the next couple events to happen with the market, and then we can load up again on the long side. Okay, guys, so thanks again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you later.